where in here, this is the country that we fought for, right? And it shouldn't be that way. So we're on this mission. We're working with legislators, and I'm just happy that guys like Robert and now the NFL, we're very much alike, veterans and high performing athletes, and so we're just going to push this message forward and see what we can do.
Cool. I mean, that's an amazing thing. And, we talk about the need for it. And Robert and I were talking a little bit earlier, Robert Gallery, a former NFL lineman who's joining us. And Robert, the way you discovered this, I mean, when these guys are at your lowest point, like you found him, and how did that change your life?
Yeah, it was, like I said, it was kind of a fluke deal. But I've always, I've always admired our military. My dad was a Vietnam veteran in the U.S. Marines. And I've always just felt like my mentality was that of, obviously, I don't put myself on the level of these guys, but that's the way I thought. And listening to podcasts that these guys put on, and I just, I could really relate. And in the getting to know and becoming friends with a lot of veterans, we think alike. We can share things that, these big tough guys aren't supposed to be thinking or have going on. And like I said, I heard him on a podcast, on Marcus Luttrell's podcast, reached out because I thought I was talking when he was talking of his struggles, the addictions, the rage, the suicide. And I did. I hid my stuff at home. It was, I got out in public. My wife knew what was going on, didn't know how dark it was with the suicide and that stuff until I opened up. But she knew I was having issues. And I had found out, I have brain damage, and I was doing those things, like Marcus said, to try and fix that, and spent a couple years doing that, and still was just, to the point where I didn't know how much longer I was going to make it. And then that's, it was just fate. And I heard that podcast. I pulled over on the side of the road, called my wife, like, you need to listen to this. And, a day later, I'm talking with Marcus and Amber, and then, a month later, I'm down doing the treatment. And like Marcus, it was completely life-changing. Got me off all my pharmaceuticals, and his wife. It was months afterwards that my wife would just stare at me. She's like, "You were a different person." I was, there was so much going on with my thought process, and just the dark thoughts, and the days I would just sit in a chair just because I couldn't tell what was real and what wasn't real. And she's like, "You're a different, you're a husband again, you're a father again." And that's why I'm here, because there's like the veterans, there are guys like me, and I know, and talk to some of these guys, that we need the option of something that truly helps, and to help obviously support our veterans and move this thing forward.
Robert, do you think the NFL forgets about you? Do you think the government forgets about the vets? Because no one seems to help. They got their money out of you, they got their services out of you, and it's like, hey, go back, go into the real world, and we're not going to help you anymore.
I think there's we have our struggles. This is not for me. This is not me against the NFL. I would do it all over again in a second, every single hit.
But you deserve more help post-wise, because they used you.
Yes, and that's why I'm here. I think it's something because the NFL does care so much about our military. They obviously care and have options for us, but this is something that needs to come to the forefront for guys when all those other things don't work, or at least to have another option, because this is something scientifically that works. There are guys like myself and Marcus that can talk about it, and it's something that, as much as the NFL does care for our health, and as much as we talk about it all, it's something that needs to be brought, like Marcus said, back to the U.S. and something we can do, as former, as veterans and as NFL players.
And Marcus, what can the government do? They can. You can rewire your brain. Jim McMahon has done it. Kyle Turley's using it. There's cannabis out there to help as well. Like, there's all these things that can help, but we're just not connecting the dots. Yeah,
Mike Tyson stepped back in the ring after his experience. He was. And I'm never going to call Mike fat, because he will find me. But Mike will tell you, he was out of shape. He wasn't doing it, and this kind of woke him up, right? This kind of pulled him out of a really dark place, and it showed him, like, hey, you should probably be fighting again. And look at him now. I mean, the guy is literally soaring, and people love to listen to him, and that's what these medicines are doing. To go back to your original question, the U.S. didn't take care of our veterans coming back from Vietnam. And Vietnam veterans said this will never happen again. And I think they've done a really good job in showing us. I cannot complain. I have more opportunity, and it's just amazing. But there's just some things that don't work. for everybody. And a lot of Western medicine approaches do not work for some of us. Our issues are very complicated. They're not as simple as, oh, you're just depressed. Oh, you have some mild traumatic brain injury. People don't understand what comes along with that, with the hormone dysregulation and the anger and everything else. And a lot of it, everything stems from the brain, and you can't really diagnose it with one thing. And so it's just a mixture of shit, really. And so how do you heal that? And what we're finding is these medicines, these psychedelic medicines, they are radically improving in an individual very quickly. And that's what's nice about it. When someone's depressed, and someone writes a suicide note, they need help yesterday, not tomorrow, not in 5 years, right? Like yesterday. And so, my wife and I were sitting, at the damn chapel in Virginia Beach for one of our very close friends committed, took his own life. And he was on active duty. And we had been in that chapel, over 60 times for memorials and funerals of the years that we'd been going down range. And she turned to me and she said, Marcus, we're not going to I'm not letting this happen again. And this is right when, after I'd been through treatment for about a year, and we started treating, we fund individuals. We have now at Vets, we have funded over 450 combat veterans to go outside the U.S. I mean, this is a real thing. My wife has, 7 employees and 15 independent contractors working, and it's busy. We get 10 applications a day. We stood in that chapel and looked at each other and said, hey, we need to start talking about this, because if we don't, we're going to be in here now not for KIA, or for friendlies killed in action, but for suicides, and not on our watch. And so we had to come out, we had to come above board. And, these medicines are still a bit stigmatized from the 60s. People ran around and abused recreational drugs, but anything can be abused. Right? When this is done correctly in a medical setting, done right with the proper preparation and integration, I'm telling you, there's nothing that is working better. If I showed you the testimonials from the individuals of not just their life saves, we're talking about generations, their spouses, their kids. This is real shit. And we really need to we need to be serious about this. We really do.
It's been very serious to talk about this. So let's lighten it up a little.
Yeah. I'm not passionate about this at all, by the way.
Let's get your picks for today. Is there, the NFL for this weekend? I know there's no, I don't know if it's a California thing with Raiders or whatever, but you played for a couple teams. So who are you picking and why?
It's tough with playing in California, and obviously being a Raider, you got to be careful who else you root for. I know they don't pay me anymore, but I'm gonna go with the Bengals. It's been a long time. I like how those guys are playing, and we'll see. I like everybody else, we all got our predictions, and we'll see what happens on game day.
Marcus, you being a quarterback, you have a little stake interest in the game. We didn't get Rodgers or Brady, but who do you like? That's and why? Okay.
Everybody likes young quarterback. Everybody likes young everything, right? Well, growing up in New York, I was a New York Jet fan, I have to say, but I don't remember the last time the Jets made it this far, so we won't talk about them. I'm gonna, the Bengals weren't supposed to beat the Chiefs last week, and Burrs is a good quarterback, and he's just they're dynamic, the Bengals offense. But I think Stafford and I think the Rams defense and their D line are going to beat the Bengals up front, and so if you can't win up front, you're not going to win a Super Bowl. So my pick's on the Rams.
I got to ask you a question real quick before you let you go. Being a team 6, like how do you get to that point? Was it fun? Did you enjoy it, or was it just, this is what I had to do for my country?
It was the best time of my life. Like Robert said, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I would do it again. I miss it so much. I miss the guys. I literally worked with some of the, I joke with people and said, yeah, I did, 7 deployments. I have friends that have done 15. My bud's roommate is on his, the 20th deployment. It's just, I want to take care of those guys when they get out, and I look up to them, and
having them keep coming back is the key to continue to have those many deployments.
That's right.
So
that's right.
And for you, Robert, I think it's a little bit of the same, saying it's not quite at that level, but that camaraderie, the locker room, the people you're around, that to me was the best part of the game when I played. And I think that's what I miss the most. I'm wondering if that's what you miss the most.
Absolutely. You get out and you kind of, who am I? You did your kids' friends down the street, they don't understand how we think, but the veterans I've become, Marcus obviously has helped me and my family out. We've become very close friends. Like, he gets it. I can call him and tell him what I'm going through. He gets it. So I have other guys like that, but you miss it. And I'm slowly finding those, ex-professionals and whatever they were that think like we do. And it's, something you can be open about, and they get you if you're in a bad place or you need help, and where everybody else thinks like, oh, this guy played in the NFL, he made all this money, his life is perfect.
He doesn't need an AA sponsor or something like that, but you do need those support. People forget, like, we're men, we can cry, we're vulnerable. We don't have to be this big tough macho guy all the time, and it's okay to cry and have emotions. But if you need help and you need treatment, that's why it's so important for what you guys are doing. Absolutely.
And it took me a long time to accept that. It was almost too late to where I was like, I need to reach out and ask for help. I started with my wife, and then guys like Marcus, and it's that stigma, and look where it's taken me. I've got my life back, and now I get to work and hopefully help people in the future.
Marcus, one last plug, the website, VETS, what it stands for and why you're doing it. How can they find out and help?
Yeah. Go to vetsolutions.org. There's a ton of information on there on the medicines that are used in this type of treatment, what we're doing. Please donate, be ambassadors. Just learn as much as you can. We have to destigmatize not only these medicines, we have to destigmatize being vulnerable and coming out and talking about our mental health. Doesn't mean, like Robert said, we're not, strong men or strong women. We're just better now. We're better human beings.
All right, guys. Thanks for taking the time to join us. Two heroes, NFL vet, a regular vet, changing the world. Again, there's so much that we need to do to continue to protect our veterans, both NFL and the ones that served and paid the ultimate price. So thank you guys for joining me today. Make sure you go to that website. It's a wonderful place, vetsolutions.org. Go on, donate. Just look at, if you know somebody that's having issues, there's all kinds of ways to seek help. They're here to help you. They don't just want your money. They want to make an impact. So guys, thank you so much. Best of luck the rest of this week. And you're watching Dave Stevens on Radio Row. Thanks again to our sponsors, Pro Stance. If you want to get these for your kids, it's a great tool. It's a great teaching tool. So go to prostance.net. Thank you guys for paying us for being here. We appreciate you. We got more Lee Steinberg coming up. Continue to stay with us right here on Radio Row. This is Ability Media live down here in Los Angeles.